It's now my pleasure to call on and introduce our board chair, Bob Millstone. As I mentioned earlier, I have worked with 9 past presidents here, as well as 4 previously in North Jersey. And Bob, who is my last, is really one of the greats. Bob brings vision, wisdom, enormous intelligence, and real integrity to his role. He's been tireless, doing double duty, first as our campaign chair and now as board chair, while also leading the executive search committee. St. Louis has been unique among federations and nonprofits in general in planning and executing a well-ordered leadership succession. Bob has devoted himself as well to fulfilling the vision and implementing our strategic plan. He leads by example with great generosity, and I am very pleased to deliver him here tonight in one piece. Bob?
Barry, thank you for that kind introduction, but please don't go far. However, I have to begin by saying it was a little risky to assume that I would make it here in one piece, although I'm very glad to say that I did. Most importantly, thank you for your years of selfless service. I'm going to call you back up here in a moment. As you know, Barry will still be around, advising Andrew as needed and continuing to contribute his considerable talents to our community in other capacities. We will honor Barry's many contributions more fully next year. I cannot let this moment tonight pass, though, without making a few remarks about Barry's contributions to the St. Louis Jewish community over the last 19 years. First of all, Barry helped establish stability and continuity for the Federation. A quick review of his tenure will demonstrate that that has been a true asset, and his contributions are numerous. Barry was the 6th executive hire in the 10 years preceding him. Barry recognized that while he was hired to create a sense of stability and continuity, the needs of the community would evolve, and the Federation would need to evolve with them. During Barry's tenure, he has led the Federation through 3 strategic planning processes, 2 of which I've had the personal privilege of being a part of. The first one I was involved with the 2005 strategic plan led by Sheila Greenbaum. That plan primarily focused on making the Federation more effective and efficient. The second one, led by Todd Seawalk in 2010, involved the broad community outreach process to develop a consensus around the community's highest priorities. At the annual meeting last year, I outlined those priorities. Our new CEO and President, Andrew Rayfeld, will discuss them tonight. With the help of a dedicated staff, generous donors, and tireless volunteers, Barry has helped modernize our financial reporting, helped develop a community-wide foundation, develop our commitment to Jewish education and outreach, and created more meaningful connections through Israel. Through JPRO, with the generous support of the Luke and Green Foundation, he made a significant commitment to professional excellence. Barry was also instrumental in creating the Jewish Leadership Institute, named after my grandfather, i.e. Millstone. May his memory be a blessing, again with the generous support of the Luke and Green Foundation. The Millstone Institute expands the work of the JPRO to volunteer leadership. Nationally, JPRO and the Millstone Institute is a model for helping our professional volunteer leaders achieve their full potential. Through my volunteer work with the Federation, I've had the privilege of meeting and working with people at the national and international level. Barry is considered one of the most respected executives in North America. His keen intellect and support for innovative programming has enhanced the St. Louis Jewish community's reputation, which was a major strength in our search for a new executive leader. As Barry passes the torch to Andrew, and Andrew continues the work of enhancing our thriving Jewish community, he will do so based on the outstanding work and dedicated service of Barry Rosenberg. We are grateful for all that you have done. We're grateful to your wife Barbara for her sacrifices that have allowed you to make these contributions. The Board of Directors would like to show its thanks with a signed work of art by internationally renowned St. Louis photographer Michael Eastman. The piece is called Red Piano and comes from his Cuba 2010 collection. We hope it will remind you and Barbara of all the lives you have touched and the difference you have made. On behalf of the entire St. Louis community, Jewish community, thank you. Last year, as I stepped into my current role, we talked about the meaning of the new tagline, Thriving Together. I made an analogy to the work of the Federation, comparing it to building a house. As I mentioned a moment ago, we are just beginning to roll out our newly adopted strategic plan, adjust our activities, energies, and resources to focus on the 6 strategic imperatives. I promised you then I would report back to you on our progress, and for the next few minutes I will do so. First, I have objective, irrefutable evidence that we have made progress. Look, 2 hands. In the last year, we have adopted a new development model for fundraising and began implementing our new planning and allocations model. One of the first targeted initiatives adopted under the new development model was a fundraising program to assist the new Saul Merowitz Jewish Community Day School. So far, over $2.5 million has been raised. Under the great professional and volunteer leadership for the school, they began their first year of operations with 160 students, more than projected. At the request of Kate and the Brodsky Library, they have assisted them with their strategic planning efforts. Our new approach to helping our agencies thrive is exemplified by a recent decision to help Kate extend its impact around Jewish identity and engagement. The Federation recently transferred programs started by the Federation in those areas to CAVES, which we believe will allow CAVES to build on its strengths and create efficiencies. We have also helped other agencies and congregations at their request with strategic planning, restructuring, and sustainability issues. We funded our first St. Louis community bus for Birthright Israel. This effort greatly enhances our ability to create connection for St. Louis participants, as well as develop new ways to integrate the participants into the community when they return to St. Louis. We know from the empirical and first-hand experience, Birthright Israel enhances Jewish identity and connects participants to their Jewish heritage. We will be supporting another St. Louis bus in December. Israel trips are not just for teens. They facilitate greater understanding and stronger affinity for anyone fortunate to go. As part of our efforts to inform opinion leaders about the work we support in the State of Israel, David Wynn and I, along with Mobile, the Industry Association for the Biotech Industry, will bring a group of local leaders to Israel. The participants will include a few of the most significant leaders in the Missouri House and Senate. Overseas, we have identified new funding to support Israeli organizations focused on empowerment of women, at-risk children and youth, and to assist victims of terror. We're also supporting a pluralistic, Reformed Jewish community in our partnership region, Yokyam and Megiddo. Because of your support, we've been able to dramatically enhance and expand our support for PJ Library, a highly successful program that engages approximately 1,100 young Jewish families locally by providing free, high-quality Jewish books to young families up to the age of seven. Our concierge program helps connect individuals to the Jewish community in ways that work for them. An example, we were able to help connect Rebecca and Jay Cohen, who live in Grover, Missouri, with PJ Library, as well with the JCC West Maryland Fox Building and other local Jewish family activities. In keeping with our commitment to Next Gen that Rob discussed, we have increased our support for young adult programs with Next Door, Moishe House, and our Young Professional Division, and the Karen Solomon Young Adult Service Initiative. To care for the most vulnerable here at home, we have increased funding to meet the demands for homemaker services for low-income elderly. We have supported the JC Social Nutrition Program that has allowed 100-year-old Ann Feldman and around 50,000 others this year to enjoy hot kosher meals at Covenant High. I could go on and on about the many great things that we have accomplished over the last year with your help. But because I want to save time to say thank you and introduce Andrew, I'm going to move on. Your involvement of time and generous financial support makes our work possible. Thank you to all the professionals, rabbis, donors, and volunteers who commit so much to the Jewish people. This work goes on every day at the Federation, in our agencies, congregations, schools, homes, and businesses. I've had the privilege of working closely this past year with many of the wonderful professional volunteer leaders. We're doing supporting great work throughout the community as a result of your passion and generosity. Thank you. Even before I began my time as board chair, many people told me the most important decision that will be made during my term would be who would be the next executive to lead our community forward. We took a deliberate, patient approach to finding the best person. Between our search firm, the Mandel Center, and the Executive Search Committee, we spent 18 months reviewing over 500 candidates, interviewing 27 individuals, and vetting in more detail 14 potential leaders for this great organization. We were looking for someone who has a real commitment to the Jewish people and the work we support locally, nationally, and internationally, who is a strategic thinker and brings a fresh outlook to the issues of our organization and our community, who can motivate the next generation to care about being Jewish and to engage in our community, who can connect the various constituents across the entire Jewish community, who can build a great team within the Federation, and who can lay out a vision and inspire others to follow, including the philanthropic support that's necessary to move our community forward. We are very pleased to have found that person in Andrew Mayfield. I've been working closely with Andrew over the last 2 months in preparation for the transition. Based on my first-hand involvement with Andrew and the feedback I've received from others, I know Andrew is warm, intelligent, caring, enthusiastic, forward-thinking, strategic, and motivating. The only skeptics are the ones that don't know him. Before I give you an overview on his background, I'd like to read part of an email I received this morning from a well-respected, longtime professional who's done work in the nonprofit, general community, and the Jewish community. Yesterday, we received the most incredible staff meeting that I've ever attended during my tenure in the nonprofit world. Andrew was remarkable, dynamic, and his enthusiasm is contagious. I did a little informal poll after the meeting. I didn't ask everyone, and of those who responded, we see nothing short of rave reviews. I have many more references from people involved in all aspects of Andrew's professional career. They shared the enthusiasm and support from the people in yesterday's staff meeting. Let me tell you a bit about his background. Just prior to joining the Federation, he was Associate Professor of Political Science at Washington University. Andrew was at Washington for 11 years, and in that time, he built a remarkable record that includes 1 book with Cambridge University Press and 1 on the way. Andrew has a gift for connecting with people, including young people. A couple of years ago, the undergraduates selected him for one of the university's top awards. And out of the hundreds of faculty members at Washington University, the administration recently chose him to give the welcoming address to the incoming freshmen and their parents. He has extensive experience of the young adult population, which is central to our strategic priorities. He's passionate and engaging. He's not just smart, he's a visionary, persuasive, and inspiring. We're excited to see him leverage those skills for our community, which he cares deeply about, for Andrew has lived the Jewish life. We're grateful to Andrew's parents. His mother, Beverly, lives here in St. Louis and is here with us tonight. She raised him with a commitment to Jewish values and engagement. His father, Rex, and late stepmother, Ruth, raised him to be committed to service in our community. Rex with his wife, Ellen O'Brien, are here from Baltimore. We're also grateful that Andrew's brother, Ed, was able to join us from Washington, D.C. Andrew spent a year in Israel before starting college. His first job out of college were with NIFTY and the Joint Distribution Committee in India and Eastern Europe. When he moved to Chicago to get his PhD, he did not drift away from the Jewish community. He embraced it. He served on the synagogue board, directed the confirmation program, and advised the youth group. While he was in Chicago, Andrew married a remarkable person, Miggy Greenberg. Miggy is a psychiatrist, and she's the vice chair of neurology in the psychiatric department at the St. Louis University School of Medicine. And as you heard, they now have a 17-year-old daughter, Emma, and a 16-year-old son, Hogan, who Hogan and I share some musical tastes. Along with Barry, I welcome Andrew's entire family. I give you our thanks for supporting Andrew in his decision to lead the Federation and the work ahead. Miggy, my wife Colleen, will tell you that serving this community is a family affair. I am grateful to Colleen for the sacrifices she makes. We're all grateful to you and your family for being willing to share Andrew with us. Andrew and his family have lived in St. Louis since 2001. Many of you may know Andrew from his volunteer work here. He was a member of the board and on the executive committee of Hillel at Wash U. He directed the successful search that resulted in hiring Rabbi Kastner. He was a board member and member of the executive committee of the Jewish Community Relations Council. In 2008, he received from JCRC the Michael and Barbara Newmark Emerging Leader Award. He's been a board member of his local congregation here as well. He has been involved with the music group that participate in Shabbat services. Until he was offered the job of president and CEO, Andrew was a member of our own Federation Board of Trustees. We are so excited to have found such a dynamic leader to help us continue to thrive together, and someone who is passionate and committed to the Jewish community. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our President and Chief Executive Officer, Andrew Rayfield, who will deliver this year's Bernard Edelstein Lecture.